Welcome to Dodgers Daily. I'm Casey Porter. I'm so glad that you decided to tune in. We have a very, very, very special guest, outfielder in the Dodgers organization, Bubba Alleyne. Used to be known as Chris Alleyne, now Bubba Alleyne. We're going to get into that. So, hey, Bubba, thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Okay, man, that 2022 draft class that you came in with, very exciting. We're going to get to all of that. First of all, though, I got to know, how did you get the nickname Bubba? You know, I used the name Chris the first couple times I posted about you. I got corrected very fast. A lot of people that know you don't even know who Chris is. So how did you get the name Bubba?
So funny story. When I was about 2 or 3 years old, we had a neighbor near our house. They're basically family friends. And the little daughter couldn't say brother. She thought I was her brother. And instead she was saying Bubba. And so then everyone just started kind of saying that, and they ended up going to the same school with me, and it just stuck forever. So it's been pretty much my whole life, as far as I can remember. It's just been Bubba.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool story, and there's nothing better than having nicknames. Okay, so I know, kind of the family aspect of the high school that you went to. Coach Ishikawa built a very, very good program there at Chestnut Hill in the Philadelphia area. You really helped get that program jump-started for him. I know they had a really good year this last year, kind of broke through in the playoff scenario. So I know you're very proud of the family atmosphere that Coach Ishikawa built there and helped building that program.
Yeah, he did. And it really started from my brother, who was before me, and I was a freshman and he was a senior. So kind of just watching him go through the program, and Coach Ish that was his first year, was my brother's senior year. So getting to kind of meet him and learn how he wanted the program to kind of go was nice. And it was really just built around family and just playing for each other and kind of that kind of aspect. And everyone's families were involved in the team, and seeing that as a freshman and trying to continue that and keep going forward with my teammates, and also just trying to leave that same legacy behind was something that I think was really special. And I think that's still very prominent in that program today, and I think they'll be successful for a really long time.
And I know you get to go back home to the Philadelphia area in the off season. So do you go by and see all the guys?
Yeah, I do. And actually, he owns a hitting facility in Philadelphia as well. So that's pretty much where I work out for the most part. So I get to see him a lot. Some of the assistant coaches I had, and then some of also the players who are there now, and some of the players who I played with. So it's really just it's a tight knit community still. Still really involved with everyone there, and it's really cool just to come back home, whether it was in college and winter break or now in the off season, and kind of talk about the memories and talk about the new guys there and what they're doing going forward, and kind of just reminisce and still work out together. So it's really fun to kind of get back with them and hang out there.
If you can't tell by listening to Bubba talk, two things are very important to him. Family, obviously, we mentioned that with the family atmosphere that Coach Ishikawa built there at the program at Chestnut Hill, and then also commitment. You went to Maryland, man, and anymore with the transfer portal and the NIL, it's easy to just kind of jump around, man. And you didn't have you got to play early on in your career, but you didn't have just automatically instant success there. You really stuck with it, didn't you? So congratulations on your stick-to-itiveness.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's something I really value. And especially like you said, now with the transfer portal and all this NLI stuff, people are just bouncing around. And something I really felt was important to me was when I committed to Maryland, I really wanted to earn my spot there and kind of leave a legacy, which I had some people there before me do. And I really didn't believe in transferring myself. I just said, I committed to go here, and I'm just going to earn my opportunities, and was fortunately able to do that within the 5 years I was there. So that's a really special place to me.
Well, I tell you what, it paid off for you, because as you went on, of course, you ended up being the All-American and one of the best players in all the United States of America just last year. So as you went on, it really paid off for you, and you got just better and better and better as you're culminating in an All-American season last year.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I have to give so much credit to my family and also just the coaching staff for kind of sticking with me. I know it was rough in the beginning. I really wasn't even close to a finished product. It's still not, but it was really just trying to get the maturity level there. And on the field, I was always pretty talented, but it was my mentality and just kind of doing the daily in and out work was really all credit to them for kind of getting me in order and kind of letting me go now on my own. But just to kind of set that foundation was really huge for me. So I really appreciate it with them.
How far is the campus of Maryland from where you live? Hour or so, maybe a couple hours?
It's about, Yeah, it can take me anywhere probably from an hour and 45 minutes to 3 hours. But it just
Yeah,
depends
so
on the Maryland traffic. They'll get you.
yeah, so kind of what drew you to Maryland? Was it the close proximity, or was there something there that specifically drew you there?
Yeah, so I wasn't too worried about the proximity as much. I had a kid, one of my brother's best friends in high school who went to Chestnut Hill as well, played at Maryland. So he was also a senior when I was a freshman, and he was someone I kind of just looked up to with the way he played and the way he carried himself. And when I went on my visit to Maryland, I met the coaching staff, and I can really see they continued kind of what I learned at Chestnut Hill. It was a very family-oriented, close-knit program. In terms of the coaching staff and then the players, like the way they interacted with each other was something that I thought was really special and didn't really see at other places as much. So that's really what drew me there. And also just they were really just starting to get pretty good. So it was an up-and-coming program and kind of wanted to be a part of building something special there. So that was really what drew me there.
Yeah, I was talking to Austin Gothier about a month ago, and he was going to transfer into Maryland before he signed his undrafted free agent contract. So that would have been cool, you and him getting to play on the same team. And I know that you're in the same organization now. You have not. He's a little older than you, so you haven't quite caught up to Great Lakes yet. You spent your short season last year at Rancho Cucamonga. But hey, one of your 2022 draft pick E's, that one of the guys that also got picked in the 2022 draft by the Dodgers this last year, Kyle Nevin, he was at Baylor. I know you guys at Maryland got to go to Baylor last year for your first series. Do you remember anything about him? Do you guys talk about that at all?
Oh, yeah. So one thing I remember very specifically was we played – it was, I think, our first or second game that weekend, and I think one of our outfielders, Troy Schreffler, hit a home run to right field, and Nev goes up and climbs up on the wall and robs a home run. And I was like, oh, we're in for a long week. I know he was on ESPN. It was like top 10 play. And we talk about it all the time. We go back and watch highlights from college. We're just sitting in our room like, Nev, let's put on some highlights from your college. You know, the Maryland game will come up every time. So it's funny to talk about that because we didn't really know each other then. And now that we live together and instructs and all that stuff, it's funny just to reminisce and talk about the whole series and how everything went.
All right, Taylor Young, I got to talk to him. Well, actually, the World Series was still going on. I know you roomed with him. You guys became very good friends at Rancho Cucamonga. So here you have Bubba Alleyne, who's from the Philadelphia area, big city, then Taylor Young down there in the Bayou in Louisiana. So how did that mix up? How did that mix work?
It's funny. Like, I feel like we come from such different backgrounds, but we also just have so much in common, whereas the way that we play and kind of the things we do. So it was really interesting to get to learn about TY's background and what he does when he's not playing baseball is like totally different stuff. And his family was down there. They came and visited, and they were awesome. And his fiance came and visited. So just to meet his whole family and the way he goes about everything, like I just really was like drawn to TY immediately. And living with him was awesome. It was basically just like having another brother there. We pretty much just clicked from the beginning. So having TY there was really big for me, just as someone who's always kind of absorbing the relationships around me, and that kind of what keeps me going. And then having him there was really big for me, and I'm just really thankful that he signed with the Dodgers too.
So I think the way that he put it in an interview, you ain't never had no real food, right? He wants to get you down there to get you to eat some of that gumbo, right? Some of that Monroe, exactly, Louisiana gumbo. Okay, and then you can get him up to Philadelphia and maybe get him a cheesesteak. Which one's going to be more pleasantly surprised?
I mean, I think he's going to be more surprised. I can't underestimate the Philadelphia cheesesteak. It's the greatest thing ever. So I know it'll be a culture shock for me there, but I think I'm telling him the cheesesteak's going to be better.
That's funny. Okay, let's back up a little bit more, and I'm going to look to my left because I want to get all this right. So going back to your Maryland career, your last year there, you were the Big Ten Player of the Year. You're a Golden Spikes Award semi-finalist. You're a collegiate baseball, Baseball in America, and NCBWA, first team All-American, first team All-Big Ten. You're on the All-Regional, All-Tournament team. So, wow, what a season. We mentioned that. I know you talked about it a little bit, but could you expand on Coach Vaughn, the coaching staff there at Maryland, and why things just click so well for you?
Yeah, so the way like I said before, it's just a big family aspect to that program where the coaches treat us like people, and they treat us like family before baseball players, and they really respect us off and on the field. So just having that comfortability with them to be kind of just a vulnerable person and kind of just grow with them. Obviously, they're still learning as coaches and people, and they kind of grow with us as players rather than kind of just like telling us to do stuff and not kind of doing the same thing themselves. So that really just felt really comfortable there. And then in terms of on the field, we really just worked really hard. Like there was no replacement for that. Really, there was just, they let you be yourself while also giving you like the guidance that you need. And they kind of let you be free with that, which is something I really enjoyed because it's not like very cookie cutter where, oh, do this, do this, do this. It's, all right, let's work together so we can get to this point. And then once we get here, we can go there. So it was really just kind of like the working together, whether it was with Coach Swope, the hitting coach, or Anthony Papio or Coach Vaughn. They really work well as a team to kind of get every player individually where they want and like where they need to be in order for the team to be successful. And they're extremely committed to that. So just those coaches, I can't say enough about them and how much they did for me. And I know what they did for the rest of the guys with me and what they'll continue to do.
Listening to you talk, you know who it sounds like you're describing is the Dodgers organization. That's exactly how the Dodgers handle things. You know, that they let you be you. They let you have your space and getting the job done the way that you need to get it done. Now they let you know what the job needs to be. They tell you the end point, and then they kind of let you be you. But okay, let's talk about your Dodger career. 19th round last year, 2022. So kind of take us through draft day for you and all of that.
Yeah, so draft day for me, coming in, I kind of figured it was going to be the Dodgers, just talking to my agent and from my previous meetings, and that was kind of what we were hoping. So seeing it unfold in the day was very nerve-wracking for me, and my family was very tense. And so after about towards the middle end of day two, we were talking, and then after obviously day two was over, we kind of said, hey, like, we can make a deal for tomorrow. Just be patient with us. Like, don't answer the phone for anyone else. Like, we're going to make a deal. I'm like, okay. And then day three comes. I'm nervous. Like, no calls yet. Going back and forth in communication. And then finally get a call right after the 17th round saying, hey, we're going to grab you in the 19th. So that was a relief to be picked and also be selected by the Dodgers, which is what we were hoping for. So really just blessed for the opportunity and really just thankful to the Dodgers organization for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, and it was kind of unique for you to most guys because a lot of guys go out either after a draft-eligible sophomore season or certainly after their junior season, but you spent 5 years at Maryland, correct?
Right, yep, 5 years.
So you didn't have any eligibility left, did you?
No, I was exhausted all of it. No years left.
Yeah, so it was draft or bust for you that day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the end of the road if it wasn't pro baseball. So I was really just thankful to get the opportunity and getting towards the end there is getting pretty scary, but thankfully we were able to figure it out.
And obviously you took to the Dodgers organization right away. That 2022 draft class, and I'm not going to name them all, Dalton Rushing and Taylor Young. We've mentioned a couple of them already. Nev, you mentioned Kyle Nevin just a minute ago, but I'm going to stop naming them because there were so many of them that are so good that I don't want to miss out on any of them. But boy, that 2022 draft class was something. And I'll tell you what, when you guys got to Rancho and you mixed with Junior and Yainer and some of those guys in that lineup with the old school of Shu and Olinger and all those guys, boy, and Okoye Dixon, that was exciting, wasn't it? That was some exciting baseball down the stretch for Rancho, wasn't it?
I mean, it was really awesome to be a part of that. Like it was very different than what I was expecting. I was really expecting kind of everyone to be by themselves and kind of play baseball. And it was the total opposite. It wasn't far off from what it was like in college. And it was just fun to kind of be around those guys and play and learn from all those guys too. Everyone's got a different perspective. Shu, OD, the coaching staff, and playing with all those guys from different colleges and just picking people's brains, learning different things. And then just playing baseball. We just had a good time. Meeting all those guys and playing with them, it was just really a fun time to play. And the Rancho crowd out there to get into it on the weekends. And it was just a really good environment there. I had a great time.
Had you ever been to California?
No, that was my first time ever going to California.
So that was cool too, wasn't it?
It was awesome. It was definitely better than what I was expecting.
Okay, so you grew up in Philadelphia, which, you know, Philadelphia is one of the most passionate sports fans towns in the world. I mean, the Eagles and the 76ers and the Phillies. I know you grew up a huge Phillies fan. As a matter of fact, I think you were there on site for the World Series for every home game. I don't know if you actually got a ticket and got in, but I think Taylor told me that you're on site and having a good time. So, you know, growing up in a city like Philadelphia where I don't know if idolize is the right word, but you certainly look up to all the professional athletes, and
Right. Yeah,
boy, being a professional athlete now yourself, do you ever kind of step back and go, wow, I'm just like the guys that I respected and watched growing up?
Right. Yeah. It's cool. Yeah. To step back and just say, hey, like, well, I've accomplished a lot so far, to kind of be almost on the same level as some of those guys on TV. And obviously still have a lot of work and a lot of road to go. But it's cool to just take a step back and look at what I've done so far and just be proud of that. We're also realizing there's so much work left to do. But to kind of just step outside of myself and look at the Philadelphia guys who I grew up watching and kind of idolizing, it's really cool to be able to say that I've made it to this point. But so it's really awesome. And then to see the Eagles doing well now, and then I was sad to see the Dodgers obviously losing the playoffs, but then the Phillies, the Sixers. It's really just been a fun time growing up in Philadelphia, and just it really teaches you the kind of that competitive edge that I feel like I have just from watching the Philadelphia sports and just how the way the city revolves around that.
Yeah, and of course, if the Dodgers would have faced Philadelphia in the playoffs, that would have been an interesting scenario for you, because I know you grew up a Phillies fan. Now, obviously, you're a Dodger, so how would that have worked for you?
Yeah, I would have had to wear the Dodgers gear for that one. Sorry, Philadelphia, but
okay, man.
My friends are going to kill me for that.
Yeah. At every level, whether it be high school or to the next level, college, or then to professional ball, there's always a moment when you stand there and you go, hey, you know what? I call it a eureka moment, where you go, you know what? I'm good enough to be here. I'm just as good as everybody else. Have you had that moment yet professionally?
Yeah. So when I got there, it was kind of a culture shock, kind of a shell shock thing. But once you just get comfortable there, I feel like you get that feeling. I feel like it's the same at every level. Like you get there at first, you're like, I don't know if I belong, right? And then after you get your feet wet, like you get comfortable, you're like, all right, I can hang with these dudes. Like I'm good enough. So took probably about a week, and I was like, all right, I got to fit in here. I'm good enough. So it did take a little bit just of the culture shock and stuff like that, but it was good after that.
I have to ask every player that plays for Shu, he's a legendary Dodger. Have you ever seen Shu out of uniform ever in your life?
I haven't seen Shu out of uniform. One time I heard a story one time. Someone saw him out to dinner. It was after a game, so it must have been 11 o'clock, and he was still in his uniform. And I got to the field early one day, probably around 9 o'clock in the morning, and he was already in uniform then too, like a 6 o'clock game. So I love Shu, and he's probably the most passionate baseball mind I've ever been around. But he's always in uniform.
That is so awesome. I love that story, and I love hearing guys that get to play for him tell the story, because just hearing you talk, just the amount of respect, just hearing your voice. And so obviously, the amount of respect that players that get to play for him have is unbelievable. Hey, you got a taste of professional baseball last year, and we've already talked about the sense of commitment that you handle everything that you approach to or with. So, you got your feet wet in professional baseball last year, so that gave you a pretty good idea as far as what your offseason need to look like. So talk about your offseason, your routine, what you're working on, what do you need to get better at, what do you need to maintain, and from here on forward.
Right. So during this offseason, it's kind of different than what I was used to in college. We have a longer break and kind of got some time to go back and look at some film and some video and see what I wasn't doing well. And I was really struggling with pitches up in the zone, even in college, and then when I got to pro ball as well. So kind of just talking with OD, Okoye, and some of the other hitting guys, sending them video in the offseason, working on that specifically. And then also just really working on getting my body in shape to go for the season. It's a long season. I've never played as many games as I'm about to play. So really just getting my body right and eating correctly and just doing all the right things to get ready for a long season.
Yeah, OD, you mentioned Okoye Dixon, the hitting coach there at Rancho. I got to see him for about a year and a half at AAA Oklahoma City. I'll tell you what, man, that dude can mash. Have you ever seen him take BP?
Yeah, he took BP one time, and
he can mash.
And he was letting balls rip. it was hilarious to see him hit BP. It's funny. Me and OD talk almost like every week, just checking in, seeing how I'm doing, seeing how he's doing. But he's a really good guy, and it was someone who was really helpful for me in Rancho, and continues to be a huge help for me even in this off season.
One thing that I heard you say earlier about your coaches at Maryland, they make an investment in you as a human, not just as a player. And
Right.
definitely the Dodger system does that. They definitely take an interest in you as a person before they take an interest in you as a player. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I've seen that already, especially this offseason. I've had, like Tim Laker texted me and called me, asking me how my brother's doing because he knows he lives in California. And OD, and this guy just texting like Merry Christmas, seeing how you're doing for the new year. And there's a lot of times when we call and don't even talk about baseball. So it's definitely very similar to what it was like in college, and they care about you as a person just as much as a player, maybe more as a person. So obviously baseball has to end for everyone one day, but making those relationships, and whether it's college or pro ball, always kind of lasts a lifetime. So having that in this organization I'm really thankful for that. And hasn't been much change for me. I've always kind of been a part of programs like this, and that's why I feel like it's just a perfect fit.
Okay, we mentioned how big you are in commitment, and today's the day and age with the transfer portal and the NIL and travel ball, where if you get mad over a weekend, then you just quit that team and go to the next team and all that. So you are the perfect person to give the message to all of these young kids that the grass isn't always greener on the other side, right? And that sticking to your commitment is a big deal. So what is your message for those kids in that scenario?
I would say for that, I feel like when you commit to a school, like your coach are also committing to you as well. They just want the best for you. So to leave, obviously some situations, there's times where maybe it's not the right school fit, stuff like that. But in terms of baseball, I'm just a huge believer in sticking out what you committed to, and just working hard to earn a position and just earn your way on the team. I mean, obviously nothing's going to be given to you in any situation. So there's just a certain feeling when you earn a spot or win a position, or it's just a good feeling rather than going somewhere else and trying to say, oh, it'll be easier for me to do this. I feel like there's something to just sticking it out and really just earning a spot, whereas coming in as a freshman, it's really tough to do that. And sophomore year, like it's time, maybe you earn a spot, maybe you're still in and out. And then maybe your junior year and senior year, you do really well, and you've earned that position already. So I'm just a huge believer in commitment. I think it's very rewarding when you're able to kind of struggle and then really make it out of that struggle. You can really appreciate it a lot more when you had to really work for it.
Wow. You got me fired up right there, man. I'm ready to go play a game right now. That was awesome, man. I love listening to that. That was very good, Bubba, and that very impressive. So, okay, let's finish this thing up with your expectations for 2023.
So for me, I really just want to attack and focus on the weaknesses I had last year. So really focus on attacking the fastball up in the zone. Everything else I'm hitting, I was pretty okay. I was pretty good with. I was okay with that. So I know that I have some strengths and weaknesses. So really just focus on defense a lot. I've been working with JB a lot on defense. So really want to narrow some things down there and really just have fun and have a fun year and win. Like winning is always the main goal, no matter what level you're at. So obviously the goal is to make the playoffs and win a championship somewhere, no matter what level that's at. But just really want to see some improvement in some of the things I didn't do as well last year, and just enjoy it, right? Like you said, we're lucky we get to play this game for a living. So just to sometimes just step outside of all the pressure and all the anxiety and just really enjoy what we do and enjoy the people around you.
I lied. I have one more question that came from a big fan of yours that got to watch you a lot at Rancho Cucamonga, and the first thing that stuck out to them was your fun energy, your positive energy. So they want to know, where did you get that, and how did that come about?
So I haven't always kind of been like that. I used to put a lot of pressure on myself and found it a lot harder to play like that. And then, I mean, just it's if you're tense, like people around you are going to be tense. So just trying to bring that infectious energy and energize the whole team and the fans too. It's part of the game. And it's a lot more fun to win when you're having fun too. And just, I don't know. I've always just kind of looked back on the times where I was really stressed out and kind of hated that about myself and wasn't really having that much fun. So just to kind of be just happy and bring infectious energy around is something I really pride myself on.
Okay, man. Awesome interview. You did such a wonderful job letting Dodgers fans get to know you just a little bit better. I'm so excited to get to cover you here as you grow up in the Dodger system. Such an exciting player, switch hitter out of Maryland and originally Chestnut Hill High School in the Philadelphia area. So, Bubba Alleyne, thank you so much for responding to the message when I reached out, and thank you so much for coming on Dodgers Daily.
Thank you so much for having me.